Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Absolute Podcast. If you're new here, my name is Jasmine Templin. I'm a personal trainer, online coach, bikini competitor pro, and today's episode is a very exciting one, a little bit different. We have the lovely Inez here. Hello, how are you going?
Good morning, Jazz. I'm so good. I'm so excited to be having this conversation with you and to be invited on your podcast.
Beautiful. I cannot wait. So, for those who don't know Nez, she is my new business coach. Now, in a couple episodes ago, I briefly introduced the fact that I've just started working with one. If you haven't listened to that episode, it's called Nothing Changes If Nothing Changes. So, basically, I found Nez's Instagram within a couple hours of finding her. I literally signed up and paid her like 10K for 3 months of working. And I know you're super open with your prices. I know you won't mind me saying that. Um, and literally within a few hours, signed up to her, like found her Instagram, fell in love. I was like, yes. And what really sparked me to do that was just the fact that I heard a quote that I've heard 1,000 times before, but it really just resonated and stuck out with me. And that is, if nothing changes if nothing changes. And I was like, oh, I've got all these extra business ideas that I want to be implementing with my clients and how to execute them and just help more people when I'm so capped at a time. And you guys know that I've had a wait list for a very long time as well. So I'm like, what more can I be doing? I'm like, business coach, just literally search up like business coach on Instagram and then found a few people, but Nez was just she was the one. So we've been working together for like maybe 6 weeks or so now. It's gone pretty quick and it's been the most amazing 6 weeks ever. And that, like, how could we not record a podcast together? So do you want to tell me all about yourself, who you are, introduce the audience who may not know who you are, like what you do, and you even started as a personal trainer yourself. So tell us all about that and your transition to becoming a business coach.
Oh my God, my heart is just bursting with love. It's so nice to always hear from like your clients, like it's always really interesting as well. And anyone that is wanting to grow a business, and this is something I speak to all of my clients about, is like, you just never know who's about to find your profile and could just sign up like that. Like, obviously not every single one of my clients will just like search me and then sign up within a minute. Sometimes it takes people 6 months. Sometimes it takes people like a week, whatever. Like, I've definitely done that before. I haven't even been following someone and I've stumbled across a program, and you just feel that pull. And I feel like for us, people who are in a position where we have created success in our life, I would say that a lot of it is down to that kind of characteristic of being like, oh, okay, I want to do something and it feels right. And yeah, it might seem a bit irrational. Like, it might seem a bit like bold and spontaneous to just make that move. But I truly think that that's like a big reason why you've created so much success and why you're kind of creating even more, and it's kind of snowballing at the moment. But yes, I will give you my little bit of a rundown of who I am. So obviously my name's Inez. I am a business coach and a business mentor. And I guess my thing, you could say, is really helping my clients to make more money in a much more efficient way. So I work with a lot of clients similar to Jazz who are quite busy and already quite successful, but they're like, holy fuck, I've got to do a lot of work in order to make money. And so where I come in is like, cool, how can we streamline things so that you can make more money, but also give a really good service to your client and work with more people? Because obviously it's not just about money. Like, if you want to make money easily, running your own business is not necessarily the way to go. Like, there's a lot of heart and passion in it, and we're really, really driven to work with more people. And if we're really busy, it's very hard for us to spread our impact even wider. So for me, it's a lot about, as I said, streamlining the business and helping you to run a much more efficient business that allows you to have more time freedom so that you can, oh my God, my throat, getting too excited, so that you can, work with more people and enjoy your life. And obviously then my big thing as well is that if you have more time freedom, your service is going to be way better and you're going to be able to help your clients even better as well. So it's just kind of like a win-win situation. But yes, my roots actually started as a personal trainer. So I started my PT business not quite as early as you, Jazz, but I started when I was 18, 19. And I remember just being like so naively confident. I had no like experience of really like that anything could go wrong. And I feel like that's such a piece that I want to like bring to all of my clients of like, remember when you were just like 18, 19 and you would just take all of these risks and just be like, fuck it. Yeah. Why can't I do this? Or like, what do I have to lose kind of thing. So I started working as a personal trainer when I was 19, I think. And at that stage, I was like running my own business. And I did that for about 6-7 years and studied as an exercise physiologist. And I loved the study of it, but I hated the work. And I started doing that work for about 6 to 12 months. And if anyone doesn't know what an exercise physiologist is, you're basically working with clinical populations, helping them manage their health and diseases through exercise. So it's very structured and very rigid. There's a lot of very like old school practices. And I definitely believe it's helpful, but it just wasn't for me. And I really craved that like sense of freedom, getting to decide my own schedule, being creative as well, and also working with more people as well. So then I was working in a gym, like in a more an athlete centered gym, I guess you could say. And then from that place, like I wasn't really wanting to go down the athlete route. And I always really, really wanted to build my own personal training business online. But at the time when I was working at that gym, I was working with a lot of influencers that already had really big audiences and like were already really successful and had really established businesses. And I remember really holding myself back because I was like, what have I got to say, you know, in this area? Because there's already all these PTs that I'm so surrounded by. And so I would say, and I feel like a lot of business owners feel like this, my biggest regret is just not following that inkling sooner. And that's why now I'm really big on like, just take the action, like follow the breadcrumb, because otherwise you're going to be like, oh, I wish I did that. Or you're going to wonder what if. So anyway, I got into online personal training, finally kind of bit the bullet and felt the fear and did it anyway. And then I did online personal training for about 2 or 3 years. And then when COVID hit, you know, obviously 2 years ago or 3 years ago, what even is time, I had a lot of my clients requesting to do more mindset work with me. And I was always that way inclined, like with, and I think you're the same, Jazz, with a lot of my personal training, you know, with the check-ins and with the conversations I was having with my clients, it ended up being like I was doing counseling sessions the whole time anyway. And so when that COVID came around and the gyms were all closed and everything like that, people were really desperate for like my support. And I was like, okay. And by this point, you know, I'd done like a lot of courses and seminars and online trainings to kind of upskill myself as well. So from that place, I think what I always reflect on as well during that COVID time was that I remember just being like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to like fully surrender. And the idea kind of came to me, I wouldn't say quite on a silver platter because it was still like felt really risky for me to do that. But then I started doing more like life coaching. And then again, really naturally and organically from that place, a lot of my clients were like, can you help me with my business? And like, can you help me to grow my business? And I want to work with you for business coaching. And I'm really glad that I like waited for that kind of seed to be planted and for my clients to ask me, because it felt then when I did kind of transition into business coaching and mentoring that it was coming from a place where the universe had kind of given me a sign. Like I'm definitely not the kind of person, as I keep mentioning, to like wait until I'm ready. But it is nice to sometimes get like a little bit of a nudge. But I think where most people go wrong with that is they're like waiting for lightning to strike on their house or like for all of the planets to align to take action. But for me, it was just like 1 or 2 messages and just having this feeling of like, yeah, I know that I have something different to offer in terms of the way that I coach business, especially having the experience of like being a personal trainer, working as a life coach. Like I'd already built a few businesses to 6 figures that weren't just business coaching. And I think that really gives me an edge because I really understand when my clients come to me, because some of them are nutrition coaches, like you're in PTing and nutrition as well. Like I can really understand because I've been where my clients have been as well. So that's kind of my whole spiel. And that's where I'm at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And oh, just so many things I could just listen to you talk forever. Alrighty. Well, no, I really love that story, and just even the fact that, you know, you started off as a PT and that like slow transition as well from one business into the next was like super just organic as well for you. And it even helps with, because even a lot of your clients PTs or life coaches, like in every industry as well. So it's amazing that you, even whenever you talk to me, you're like, oh yeah, maybe you could do a cut. Whereas like I know there would be so many other business coaches who'd be like, what's a cut?
Yes.
So it's just great that you had that foundation. It's like makes it so much easier. Alrighty. And then how does your like mindset coaching work? Because I know you still implement a lot of mindset coaching with your current business. So can you tell us, what does that look like? Obviously, I know a lot with what you do, but really just explaining to the audience, like, what does that look like if someone's wanting mindset coaching?
Yes. So I would say for me, mindset coaching, because of my background working as a life coach and being a personal trainer, like any PT will agree with me, and I'm sure you do as well, Jazz, that like you just end up being that person's guidance counselor. Like you are just giving them so much life advice and hearing them out and helping them come to realizations. Like you get so much experience. And for me, being someone that was a personal trainer for like 8 years pretty much, it got me so much experience of people from so many different walks of life. And then from that place as well, being someone, this is not part of what I touched on before, but I struggled with disordered eating and body dysmorphia when I was like earlier on in my fitness journey. And really coming out of that as well forced me to kind of look at my mindset, because for so long, and I'm sure you probably have experience with this as well, Jazz, I was like, if I just had the perfect body, then everything will be happy and then everything will be easy. And, that was kind of my first entry into mindset. And then from that place, once I started to feel the results of working on your mindset and working on your, your beliefs and how to create opportunities for yourself and all that kind of stuff, it really just created this domino effect to then really having personal development and mindset as the backbone of everything that I do. So oftentimes, even within my coaching sessions, my clients might be like, oh, I want to run this offer and I'm thinking about posting this on social media, but da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, well, something's coming up here for you. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you feel or like what emotions are coming up here? Because I know 9 times out of 10, I can give my clients the perfect strategy. Like that's not an issue. And there are so many different strategies and like action steps and really tangible things that we can do to grow your business. But if it's coming from a place of like scarcity, or if it's coming from a place where you're trying to like get validation or having some sort of expectation from it, it's not going to work as well as it could. And you're not going to be able to reach your best potential. Like for me, yes, you can create success and you can make lots of money, but you're never going to be able to make the biggest impact and the most income if it's not coming from a really centered, aligned and grounded place. And the way that I look at it as well is that you can be really successful and be fucking miserable, or you can be really successful and be enjoying the ride. And for me, like, why wouldn't you choose to do it in a way that really lights you up? And ultimately that's going to be a lot more sustainable. And again, you're going to be able to give a much better service to your clients. So that's kind of why I take this very holistic approach in terms of the way that I business coach. And I'm big on, making sure that you're feeling very energetically aligned with what it is that you're doing. So when I say that, what I mean is if you are doing something that really lights you up, like if you're really excited about an offer or you're really excited about creating a post, there's always that little voice that comes up in the back of your head, or like your ego or whatever you want to call it, that's like, well, maybe you should do it this way, or I saw this successful coach do it like this, so maybe that's a better way to do it. Like there's always going to be that little voice there. But what I really teach my clients to do is listen to that initial kind of voice and listen to your gut reaction almost, and follow that initial niggle, because that is always going to get you a bigger result. So two people can do the same thing and two people can try and build a business in the exact same way, but whoever is more aligned with the action that they're taking, because they're doing it in a way that makes them feel excited or feels really natural to them, one person's going to get further even though they're both doing the same amount of work. And so that's why it's so important when you're running your own business and really approaching any sort of goal or big thing that you're working on, to find a way that plays to your natural strengths, that feels really good for you, because then you're going to get more bang for your buck almost. And this is what I mean about when I talk about like streamlining your business and making things more efficient. It's not because we want to work less. Like I work with lots of people like you, Jazz, that are so ambitious, and you just are so happy to work. You're so action orientated. Like it's not that you want to work less, but what we do want to do is ensure the actions that you are putting into your business, or whether it even be, prepping for a comp or going to the gym and lifting weights, whatever it might be, it's like, how can we get the most out of that action? And so really ensuring and checking in with yourself and listening to your intuition, that's how you're going to get an action and kind of amplify it.
Yeah, I love it. And someone who is kind of like listening to this and they're like, okay, what even like is a business coach? Like, what is it that they're going to do for me? Like, is it just mindset? Is it like actual strategy design? And this is something that I used to be kind of curious of, like, what is it that they're actually going to do? And then I was mind blown by our first call. But yeah, do you want to kind of explain like what even like what is a business coach and like what are the things that you do to implement to like make your business as a whole so much better?
Yeah, such a good question. And I know exactly what you mean. Like when I first got into coaching, I was like, oh, a business coach. Like it seems like such a random idea, but I think more and more as we start to see a lot more people like creating their own businesses and working for themselves, it's going to become even more like normalized, I guess. So essentially as a business coach, and the way that I run my business is probably a lot more like mentoring and coaching as well, definitely. And so what I mean by that is, as I said, most of my clients come to me and they will already be like having will be quite busy, for example, like how you were, Jazz, and you're like, how can I possibly, bring on more clients and work with more people? Like I've got the demand there, but I don't have the space for it. So when we're looking at that problem, for example, it comes down to two main streams that we have to focus on. Number one, strategically, what can we add into your business so that you actually have the capacity to work with more clients? So that needs to be done through looking at the different ways that you're able to work with clients. So looking at different offers. So whether that's like, okay, we're going to add in, some sort of group program or a course or a different service or kind of package something that you already know. Because what I find with a lot of my clients is that they really actually dismiss how much they know, like how knowledgeable they are. And they're like, well, this comes easily to me, or this is just something that is natural for me now. And it's very easy to forget that at one point, what you're doing now is something that you wished you had like a few years ago. And when we look at that, and because our brain becomes so used to what we create, like even for me, sometimes I catch myself and I'm like, oh my God, at one stage, like when I first started my business, I would have been like mind blown that I would be charging 10K or, making X amount of money per month like that. And so it's important that we really catch ourselves, whatever industry you might be in, like even if you're a personal trainer, at one stage, you probably felt like it was impossible for you to squat 100 kilos or get to the gym 5 times a week or, meal prep or have a healthy relationship with food. Like probably at one point you thought that that was going to be fucking impossible. And now you're just living it like it's your everyday. So when we get in that place, we have to look at what's coming naturally to me that like a year ago or 2 years ago is something that I really, really wanted. And how can I package up that transformation and that experience into a way that can be really, really beneficial to my clients and get them there in like a month or 3 months instead of how long it took you, which was like 2 years because you had to make all of these mistakes or, because even with me, like we were talking about like taking on different payments. And I was talking to Jazz yesterday about how the first person that ever paid me in full, they paid me $3,000. This was like 3 years ago. And I didn't realize because I'd never taken that big amount of money in through my business that I had a limit of $1,000. And it was like this whole big issue where the payment, my direct debit company like held the payment. My client didn't know where her money was. I wasn't getting it. And it was just this whole big thing. And so I was kind of explaining that to Jazz. And now you can ensure that that doesn't happen for you. So obviously your progress is going to happen faster when you're working with a business coach, because not only can I be like, hey, here's something that you can do that's really strategic and going to be really effective based on your business model, your lifestyle, and your goals, but also here are the mistakes that I made so that you don't have to make them. So that's kind of like the strategical side of things. And, it can obviously be two sides of the coin. Like you might be someone that's quite busy and it's like, okay, how can I remodel my business structure so that I can bring in more clients and work with more people? But you might be on the flip side as well, where you're like, I don't have as many clients as I would want to. I'm not as busy as I would want to. And so what we would look at there is not just the structural elements of the business, but also, okay, how can you bring in more clients, which normally comes down to content. And this is a huge piece of my business, which Jazz will know, that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Like I love creating content. I love sharing my heart with my audience on social media. And if you are struggling to be bringing in clients online, it is always down to your content. So it's the way that you are marketing, it's the way that you are speaking, the communication, how you are talking about your offers. And this is something that I always say to all of my clients, like it is a constant refinement. It's not something that you one day arrive at and you're like, yep, I know how to perfectly market my offers, or I know how to make the best content. Like for me, I'm always refining it. I'm always thinking, how can I communicate this more clearly, more authentically, more in a way that my clients are really going to understand. So that's like a really important piece as well. And then I guess, you know, the other side of things is also like the energetic mindset side of things. So running a business like brings up all of your shit. Like it makes you really question yourself sometimes, putting yourself out there on social media. Like it sounds really simple to be like, I'm going to be unfiltered on social media, or I'm going to, you know, provide really valuable information. I'm going to share really great content. Like that sounds really simple, but it's so much harder than that, because you start to doubt yourself, or you're worried about who's going to judge you, or you're trying to do it how the other coaches do it, or you think that I don't know, that there's a bad photo of you, or you're worried that people are going to think you're stupid. Like there's so many layers and layers and layers that come up with just creating content, that what I do with a lot of my clients is work through, okay, let's find who you actually are. Because if you don't know who you are in real life, you know, just day to day, then it's going to be very hard for you to show up authentically on social media, which is how you're going to find your clients. And you need to be authentic, and you need to be really unfiltered, and like be showing up with personality, because otherwise you're going to blend into all of the other coaches. And you have to be able to give whoever's watching you on the screen on social media a reason to pay attention to you. And that reason doesn't have to be like you've got the most amazing photos or the biggest following, or like, you know, you're flying first class or whatever. That reason is your personality. And that's why I have clients all the time will go land on my page and they're like, I just loved your vibe, and I knew I wanted to work with you straight away. Not because I have the most flashiest Instagram page or the, you know, most biggest following that ever existed, but it's because I've been able to harness my personality and put it through my content so that people can really feel it. You know, people can feel my energy. And so that's kind of a process that I work on with my clients, as well as so many other things. I mean, we talk about money mindset. We talk about managing your energy and not overworking. We talk about any emotions that might come up. Sometimes we get really fucking triggered by our clients. Sometimes we get really triggered by people that come up on social media. And it depends at what level you're at, but I mean, really at every single level. But it's so important when we have the strategies in place as well to be like, if this isn't working, there's probably some sort of energetic component. So what I mean by that is maybe you're doing things in a way that isn't truly lighting you up, or maybe you're, you know, working with clients in like you need to set a boundary or something like that. So it's obviously a huge umbrella term in terms of what I do, but to sum it all up, it's very intuitive. It's highly tailored to the individual. And yeah, any further questions? Anything else to expand on?
No, that was good. I know it's really hard to talk about such a broad range when every client is different, and you end up just meeting them where they are at. But yeah, like I obviously can speak from experience, is that everything is very tailored. Like you ask any question and it would be answered in depth. But yeah, that was good for having to answer for such a broad range of different people. Really good. And yeah, I know you also touched on a little bit about importance of even rest, and I know you've kind of preached a bit about that quite before. So can you talk about, and I love a quote that you mentioned as well, that I think one of your clients shared and tagged you, and I said in your story. If you're never truly switching off, you're never truly switching on. Love. So can you just talk a little bit about how important it is to switch off? Because this is something I never do. And well, you know, sometimes do. But definitely, you know, I'm sure as a lot of business owners, this can be an area that we can all work towards. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about the importance, because sometimes we're all just like work, work, work. What else can we make?
Yeah. Totally. And that quote just came to me one day randomly when I was like having a chat with one of my clients, and I was like, I'm gonna make this part of my brand now.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it's so good. So yeah, I think a lot of business owners fall into this trap, I guess is a bit of a hectic word, but like, because you can work a lot and because you are obsessed with your business, like I'm obsessed with my business. As I said, I love creating content. I'm obsessed with my clients. Like, why wouldn't you be? Like, look at Jazz, amazing. And I just love all pieces of my business. And I purposely designed it that way to make it really suit who I am and my personality and my goals and that kind of stuff. So when I first started my business, and even as working as a personal trainer, like any PTs that are listening to this will relate, but I used to wake up at like 5 a.m., do the morning round of clients before, you know, most people would go to work, do some lunchtime clients. And then I used to go to uni after that. And then I'd come back for my evening clients and I would train somewhere in the middle of that. Then I'd come home at like 8:39, basically eat dinner, go straight to bed, wake up and do it again. So
So much nostalgia.
yeah, I know what it's like to work really, really fucking hard. And also I think, you know, part of that comes from my family as well. Like my family is extremely ambitious. We're from Switzerland originally. So we have that real like mentality of like, just get it done, be really on time, do all that you can, like very direct, very like kind of forward focused at all times, like very hardworking lineage, I would say. So I just from naturally, you know, when we're at school as well, it's kind of like work as hard as you can and then you'll get a good mark. And then when you get a good mark, you'll like get to uni, or same even like, not that I've ever worked in corporate, but I think we all get influenced by it anyway, of kind of like work as hard as you can and then you'll get a promotion and you've got to work a set amount of years and then you'll get the pay rise or whatever it might be. And so in society at large, we're really conditioned into this idea that like we have to work as hard as possible at all times and we have to put in heaps of hours, otherwise we're not dedicated. And the only way to be successful is to like dedicate all of your hours. And even in the coaching industry, there's this idea that if you're not putting in as much work as possible and you're not hustling as hard as you can at all times, then you're not as dedicated and then you don't really want it that badly. And so I've really, on the past 2 years, had a big journey of kind of unraveling a lot of that messaging, because when I first got into my online business, and I'm sure a lot of people will relate to this feeling, I was like, oh my God, yay, I'm not a PT anymore. Like, I don't have to, you know, be anywhere at any time. I don't have to see anyone. Like, I can just work from home and go to a coffee shop or whatever. But I went from having such a structured schedule with so many clients and going to uni and going to the gym and whatever, to the complete opposite, where I was like, holy shit, I can just do anything I want. But because I didn't have any structure, I just ended up filling it all with work. Like I would just work all the time. And I really got myself into a very like burnt out, overwhelmed, basically had a bit of a mental breakdown. And one of my clients was like, do you think you should go see a psychologist? And I was like, nah, I don't need to see a psychologist. I just need to get more work done. Like
I'm just a beast.
yeah. Literally, I was just so intense.
Yeah.
And, you know, thankfully I did go and see a psychologist, and my psychologist was like, I don't think it's like very healthy for you to sit by your laptop and wait for your clients to get back to you all day. And I was like, nah, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Anyway, that was about like, I would say that was about like 4 or 5 years ago now. And that kind of was the catalyst for me realizing, okay, maybe working all the time is not beneficial. Because if you think about it, like, as I said, if you're never fully switched off, you're never really switched on. And it can be the hardest thing. Like, it actually requires a lot of discipline to be like, I'm just going to take this afternoon off. And as a business owner, especially when you are so passionate about what you do, taking an afternoon off can feel painful, because you're like, oh, I don't want to. And like, you know, you're like, but I could do this. And you have this idea and you're like, oh, just quickly do this. But something that I've really practiced within myself is realizing that if I do take an afternoon off for whatever reason, you know, I'm feeling a bit tired, I got my period, I had a bad sleep, whatever it might be, I know that if I take, and normally I'm only taking like 2 or 3 hours off, but it feels like a week. It feels like a month when we take an afternoon off, right? When I wake up the next day, I'm so much more full of energy. I've got so many better ideas. I can come up with solutions. And so what would have taken me 4 or 5 hours that afternoon ends up taking me 45 minutes the next morning, because I forced myself to rest and I was really disciplined with it. So, and this is like what most people are doing, is that they're just pushing all the time, waiting until they get burnt out, then taking a break, getting frustrated that they have to take a big break because now you're burnt out. And that really makes it hard for you to grow your business sustainably. Whereas for me, what I try to do, and obviously I'm not perfect, like definitely sometimes I overwork and push myself a bit too hard, but I really try to be managing my energy in the way of, okay, if I like rest this afternoon, or, you know, I make sure that I only have calls on, I only really take calls on 2 days, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then those other days, sometimes I'll have random calls or stuff like that. But I really make sure that I plan my week so that I have days where I don't have any calls, so that I can be really creative, so that I can go to the beach or, you know, go to the gym and like really take my time and not feel like I have to rush everywhere. But that's actually been a big kind of nervous system regulation thing that I've done, because I think for a lot of business owners, and I definitely felt like this, if I was resting, it would feel painful, like I said. And so I had to kind of teach myself that it was safe. And the way that, like, the best analogy that I can give for this is, like, say if, like, there's been a time in your life where good things have happened to you without you necessarily having to work really hard. So, like, an amazing analogy for this is, like, probably how you met your best friend, or if you've had, like, a recent friend come into your life, or, you know, your partner, how they came into your life. It's not about, like, working really hard in order to create a great relationship. Great relationships are formed from you being your natural self and you being authentic. Because if you're, like, trying really hard to make a relationship happen, and you're trying really hard to be friends with this person, it's kind of off-putting to that person, and you're probably going to repel them a little bit. You know what I mean? Whereas if you, like, show up to that friendship and you still put effort in, but you're kind of meeting them in the middle, and you're trusting and you're being yourself, that's going to create a much more fertile, like, foundation for a relationship. And really, running a business is about relationships as well. So if we're trying so hard all the time to be successful and working as much as possible all the time, it's actually not when we're in our most, like, magnetic, attractive energy to be bringing in new clients. And this is kind of more the energetic side of things. Like, I'm not saying we should be lying on the couch thinking that our, you know, next $1 million year is just going to plop into our lap. But there has to be kind of a bit of a tug and pull in terms of, like, how much we show up, but then also allowing, like, our clients to come to us in time for, like, the results or the opportunities to happen. Because, you know, and the other analogy that I often give is, like, if you're an athlete, you wouldn't train more than you need to, because training more is not necessarily going to give you better results. It's just going to mean that you are at a higher risk of injury or going to be burnt out more. And also with athletes, and you would know this as well, Jazz, working with your clients, recovery is really important. Like, you have to make sure that you're feeding yourself well. You have to make sure that you're, I don't know, going to get a massage or seeing your physio or working with a coach, you know, working on your mindset. More working all the time does not create a better result. It's not going to, you know, make you run faster or make your progress faster. It's actually just going to inhibit it. And so we need to have the same approach with our business. But again, that can bring up all of our shit, because it's like, you know, we're around, like, even my parents are just always like, oh, well, like, you should do more and you could do this. And what if you do this? And I always just have to have my blinders on and go, I'm going to follow my way of doing things. And I'm going to rest this afternoon. And yes, I might go to the beach in the middle of the day, but that means that when I do sit down to work, I'm fucking on.
Yeah, 100% love that. And even the best Olympian athletes still take, like, deload weeks or rest breaks,
Yes.
time where they take back their volume. So even if they are doing that to make sure that they're having the best success possible, because it's only going to propel you forward one step back, two steps forward. Love it. Alrighty. Next question. Do you have any tips for those who struggle to switch off for work? Obviously, we can always think of these tips that you just implemented, or you can think of the things that you just mentioned in terms of why it can be so beneficial. But, you know, how does one switch off, particularly if they do work from home?
Yes, this is such an adjustment for me. I've been working from home now for like 6 years, but as I said before, like, I went from being a PT to just being at home all the time, and that was such an adjustment. So I would say for me, the big things that I do is I try to bookend my days. So what I mean by that is, like, I'll wake up in the morning and I never just go straight to work. Like, all of my clients will know that I basically never respond to anything before 10 a.m. And that's because I go for a walk, I do my meditation, I might go for a coffee somewhere, whatever. So I'm kind of, like, doing something to start my day, and also, like, having a reason to get up, because I think also, like, some people can be like, oh, I'll just kind of, like, work, and then you just go from bed to, like, working, and, you know, you're not really, like, starting your day. So for me, whether it's, or sometimes I'll go for a workout, or, you know, it's either a walk or a workout. And then I come home and I normally do work, whatever. And then I bookend it again by going for another walk. Like, I'm really lucky, I live right by the beach. So I'm just always, like, doing my coastal walks, or I'll, you know, go for a gym session in the afternoon. But I feel like you really need to do something that gets you out of your head and into your body. And so for me, that's why doing something like walking, or even sometimes, like, if it's, like, cold or rainy, like, having a bath, right? If you're lucky to have a bath. I have the tiniest one here in my apartment, but I still use it, because, again, it's that thing where it gets you out of your head and, like, you're feeling your body, right? You're getting into more of like becoming more present basically. And I
Yeah.
like force myself to like read a book or something so I'm off my phone. But those little things can really help you to like shift your energy. So like moving, you know, your body and just like not sitting there on your phone and then being like, okay, I'm just gonna like, you know, go eat dinner now or whatever. Like for me, it's really important to like,
Yeah.
even if you just go for a walk around the block or like yeah, like have a bath, like anything,
Yeah.
as I said, just to like get in your body. I think that's the most important thing. And then when you come back, it's also like being like disciplined in the same way that you would be disciplined with like eating the right food or going to the gym and getting your workout done. Be disciplined with your self-care activities. Like go and, you know, force yourself. Sometimes you've got to force yourself to listen to like a comedy podcast instead of the next personal development podcast, because
Yeah.
you can only absorb so much information every single day. And that your brain actually creates links and like synthesizes information when it's kind of chilling. You're not really, same with like how your muscles are only really rebuilding when you're resting, you know? So you actually have to have time for everything to like synthesize and like link together. And so if you're constantly putting more information, doing more work, trying to get more done, and never having any like white space or like kind of chill time, more relaxing time, your brain can't keep up with all of that. And that's when we have that real fuzzy feeling and we're like, oh my God, I can't think of anything. And you feel really overwhelmed and stressed. And it's like, babes, just go and have a bath, put on a YouTube video, watch someone do their makeup. And I promise you, your business will not burn down and you will feel so much better and you'll be able to think so much more clearly.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a funny thing working from home too. I remember when I first started, when I went from like face-to-face PT to online, and I would just like, because I was in like the habit of training midday, because you would with your clients, like with
Yeah.
that with the like split shifts, and then it's like you'd still train midday, and then you'd wake up, and then because I was still living at home, I would like be in my room and like my desk was in my room. So I'd like go out of bed, like straight to my desk, walk like one step, and then get straight into it. It's still in like my pajamas working.
Yes.
You can only do so much of that. And it's, yeah, it's such a funny thing. Like it's definitely a game changer having like an office space for me. But yeah, I do like 5 walks a day. But even so, it's like I have started to just try and make it a point to like make a conversation, or like I live literally like right next to Coles. So I'm doing like 7 grocery trips a day.
Yeah.
So I'm always just trying to talk to someone, because like literally it's like Thursday today, and I've had like 3 days this week where I literally didn't speak to anyone until my partner got home at like 8:30 at night. Because like I'd wake
Yes.
up, would be at the gym at different times early morning, and I'd be home, like I'd walk my dog. Like the only conversation I've had is like voice message, like client protocols. I'm like, damn, like I hope I still have, you know,
A voice.
yeah, can I still talk to a normal conversation without saying like, well done, these are your protocols that I'm changing this week. So I really need to like, and I've started doing pole classes again. Like I just set up my pole inside, which is great again for movement. So just finding those little things that, which you
Yeah.
can take the time with running your own business, but even just like going to an actual, you know, kind of class where you can talk to other people, because like otherwise working from home, you're like,
Oh my God.
I don't talk to
Totally.
anyone.
Totally. Like that's actually such a big thing. Even for me, like I think a lot of times people are like, okay, well, once I hit this certain income level or I have this many clients, then I'll do the fun things. And it's so easy to let your brain convince you that that's okay. But
Mm,
then your whole life becomes your business. And
yeah.
it just feels so, it's like you're putting it on such a pedestal and you're putting so much pressure on your business. And like the you know the best thing that you can actually do is like, what would you be doing now if you were already earning, say, like if you're already earning $1 million, like say you were bringing in 100K a month, what would you be doing if you were doing that? Your life doesn't actually change that much.
Literally,
Like
yeah.
it does and it doesn't, you know. Obviously having more money is amazing and it opens so many doors, but also like, and I was talking to this about with my clients the other day, like you're still going to wear, like for me, I still wear my same $20 cotton on jeans because I just love them. And so it's about being proactive to like go and do things. Like even tonight, I'm going for a dance class with some of my clients. I was not, sorry, some of my friends. And like, I know even 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh no, I shouldn't do that because it will eat away at my productivity time. And like, yes, maybe I'm spending less hours working because I'm going to a dance class, but coaching and your own business is not just about quantity of hours, it's the quality of hours. And so
Mm,
if I go to a dance class tonight, you bet that I'm probably going to be more productive today because I've got somewhere else to be. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow
yeah.
feeling excited and like inspired and creative. And so it's just like, think about, and you know, that's what, when people say like, act as if you're already earning like 100K months in, you know, when people say that about like manifesting more money or whatever, I used to think, oh, well, if I was earning more money, then I'd be like traveling and like buying really designer bags or like, you know, whereas that's all just material stuff. Like, but what would you be doing? Like, if it's not about buying things, like what would you be doing? Okay, I'd probably be going to the beach more often, or sleeping in during some mornings, or seeing my friends more, or whatever it might be. Those things are already available to you right now. And if you trust yourself enough to do those things, then you are acting as if you're already, you know, a baller, you're already successful, and you're showing yourself that you trust yourself. And then when you do go to work, it's going to be coming from this place of like abundance and passion and joy, rather than, oh my God, I've got to do this. Otherwise I'm going to fail and everyone's going to die and it's all going to fall apart, you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's funny how little your life can change if you don't put those things in place, because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, you and I have both experienced having no money and then having quite a lot of money. And
Yes.
then just like, yeah, it's like we're still here. You
Yeah.
know, and then it's like, even when, you know, you do get to the point where you're making like the 100K months or whatnot, it's like, if anything, like if you haven't put the things in place and you're still working in overdrive, it's like you're only going to be working more and even more stress. And then you definitely don't even have that time freedom because you haven't implemented them in the start. So it's just, yeah, 100% is
Yeah.
what you said. But
Yeah. You
yeah,
want
it
to
is
be,
funny.
yeah, you want to be growing your business in a way that is scalable and sustainable, because anyone can make like, you know, one outlier big month and be successful. But can you actually sustain that? And does it feel good for you? And are you able to sustain a really good service for your client? And that requires like a smart business model, but also a good energy from you. Like, are you feeling really good about it? And you're like, money doesn't solve that kind of problem. If you're burnt out, no amount of money is going to solve that, because you need to take care of that. That's coming from a health mindset, mental health standpoint, that you can't just throw money out, because you've got to take care of yourself. So start on the foot that you intend to go on, kind of thing, and you'll be so much more sustainable. And that in the long run is going to create more sustainable success too.
100%. Love it so much. And you chatted a little bit before, and I know you're quite big on posting and not caring what other people think. Do you have any tips when it comes to letting go of what other people may think when it comes to what you post on social media?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am obsessed with telling people to just shit post. That's my approach, which
Yes,
might not sound
my
very
favorite.
yeah, literally, which might not sound very like strategical, but I have seen it time and time and time again. Like every single one of my clients, I'm like, just be okay with posting whatever you want, you know, like truly just be willing for you to shit post in the way of like, just post whatever, even if it doesn't feel like the best post or the most smart post, or, you know, you're not sure if it's 100% clear, just post it, because that's how you're going to get better at creating content. And so often my clients will say to me, but you're so good at creating content, and how do you, you know, come up with captions, and how do you blah, blah, blah. My clients say that to me all the time. And the answer to that is because I was willing to be bad at it first. Like I was willing to post things that didn't get any engagement. I'm still willing to do that. You know, I literally don't look at my analytics at all, but I'm so in tune with like my intuition in terms of like, what do I feel like posting today? And it's so easy for me to post now, because I kind of see it as like exposure therapy. Like you kind of got to teach yourself that it's safe to post whatever it is that you want. And so when you give yourself the evidence of like, oh, okay, I can post this, and, you know, it's not leading to a bad outcome, and people don't really care that much. Like it's kind of funny. I always think like I used to post things and be like, oh my God, people are going to judge me. And then like no one would actually even notice. And I'm like, people are not paying that much attention. Like it's okay, but the right people will be paying attention. And in order to have a really kind of stand out personal brand, like an online presence that people are like how Jazz said, like I saw your page and I was like, I just wanted to work with you. In order to have that kind of magnetism, if you think about a magnet, right? One side, of course, like they're going to be really sticky to the things that magnetize to them. But in order to be really magnetic, you got to be okay with being repelling as well, because otherwise you're going to be existing in the gray, and people are going to be like, oh, it's really cool to watch you, and like, oh, you're so inspiring, but no one's signing up. No one's like, I have to work with you. In order to be that energy of having people that are obsessed with you, you need to cut through the noise and be okay with like repelling people and having people like not wanting to follow you. So my biggest tip for someone that's like wanting to take their business to the next level, like this is always my first point of action for someone, is start posting more authentically on Instagram. Say what it is that you really want to say. A lot of people are beating around the bush. So like, you know, for a personal trainer, a lot of people are saying very like vague terms like come and get strong, or like, you know, maybe like be toned. And that makes sense, but it's actually not very clear. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are they going to do with that strength? Okay, get super strong so that you can out squat all the boys in the gym. Okay, now you're speaking to someone that is on that wavelength. Or like, instead of just saying like vaguely get toned, be like, well, what do they want to look like, or how do they want to feel? Like, you know, okay, have your best body ever so that you can rock a bikini in summer and feel like you know, whatever. Like, bring a bit of imagery and emotion and like flesh it out. Like, don't be so vague. But oftentimes people are being vague because they don't want to seem inaccessible or like unrelatable to a certain kind of audience. But if you are kind of saying these really generalized terms, people are going, as I said, it's very vanilla. People are going to be like, yeah, I get it, and it's cool, and you're inspiring, but it's not helpful to people because it's not like activating them. It's not creating a response within them to be like, oh, okay, that's what I need to do. And now you're positioned in their brain as someone that has the answers because you're willing to speak up and you're sharing your opinions and you're giving them the actual information and the actual like pathway to get to where they want to be. So start the shit post. And if you do it, let me know how you go, because I know anyone that's listening to this, you have so many ideas. It is not a lack of creativity or knowledge ever. That's not the problem. The problem is trying to people please and overthinking your content. So post that content, share what is already in your drafts, share some of those reels that you keep putting off, because I know everyone has a big folder of drafts in their reels as well. Share the things that you just leave in your notes and you're like, oh, I'll come back to it. Like, all of that stuff you're doing behind the scenes, and until you post it, you're not actually moving forwards with your business. It's better to post something shitty than post nothing at all.
100%. Love that so much. And your take regarding being open around your prices. I know when I first found your profile, you already had on your current like story highlights about what your one-on-one private coaching was, and it was like your 3 months 10K, 18K, 6 months, or whatever. So even though I DM'd you like inquiring, I already knew what you were gonna say. Like, but I was just like, okay, cool. Like, what is the best option? Should I do this one or this one? And then you told me, I was like, okay, sweet, let's do it. So I know you're quite open regarding your prices, and I have all my prices on my website. I never used to do that because it used to be you'd have to inquire, but I've had my on my website just because it's a little bit easier, filters out any kind of clients, and everyone who wants to inquire, they're like, yep, okay, ready to go. So what's your kind of take on that for those who aren't really sure whether they should just inquire first? Because I know that's a very like bro marketing tactic. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think this really comes through, like, especially as a personal trainer. We spoke about this, Jazz, about how we used to get taught, like when at my gym, take someone through a full session, take them through a goal setting session, and then right at the end, give them the price and kind of like get them to work with you and like whatever. And like that does work, but to me, it's not speaking to the client from the most empowered position. And so when we're not upfront about our prices, we're not being very transparent about what it is that we want to offer. And if we think about the kind of person that we want to work with, the reason why I'm very upfront with my prices is because I know for me personally, it feels really shady when someone's not sharing their prices. Like, I'm probably not going to work with you if you're not being really upfront and transparent about your pricing. I'm like, what are you hiding? Because, and might sound a bit hectic to say, but if you're not being upfront about your prices, then you're not really selling, and then you're kind of selling but kind of not, which is kind of manipulating. You know, you're kind of being like, and that's what I kind of think that old model of personal training sales, and it's across other industries as well. Like even when I started life coaching, they used to be like, get everyone on a call and take them through this full thing, and then at the end drop them the price and try to get them to sign up like on the spot really quickly, whatever. And I just think it's better to be upfront about selling because you are running a business. You do have a service. And I fully believe, like, I wish that everyone could get the support and access to services that they need. I wish. But we exist within a capitalism structure, which means that people have to give money in order to access the services that they need. And secondly, we need money in order to live in the universe and in the world, you know? So how can we then, within a system of capitalism that can prey on insecurities and can kind of guilt trip people into signing up for things, so, you know, for example, gym memberships, how can we do it in a way that is really empowering and much more transparent and using our business for good? So my approach with that is to be really transparent. And not only does that lead to better client results because they're signing up from a place of being informed, you know, and they're like making the decision from their own place of knowledge to be like, yes, I want to sign up, rather than getting to the end of a session and trying to like guilt trip them to sign up as quickly as possible. And it's also just thinking about the kind of clients that you want to work with. Like, do you want to work with clients that want to be guilt tripped into things or that need to be like handheld into things? Or do you want to work with clients that are ambitious and self-led and ready to take action? And to me, sharing the price up front speaks to that kind of client. You know, obviously that's what led Jazz to signing up. That's what makes me want to sign up with my clients as well. So think about the way with my coaches, think about the way that you want to buy things and what feels really good for you. And think about past experiences where you've had to sign up to things where it felt shady, and ask yourself, what was a more empowering experience? And I so get that it feels scary sometimes to share your prices because you're like, my parents are following me or my friends, and are they going to think I'm too expensive and are they going to judge me? Like, trust me, I get it. Because when I didn't share my one-on-one coaching prices for a while because I was like, oh my God, you know, it's so expensive, people are going to judge me, whatever. This was like a year or two ago. I thought my parents were going to call me and be like, you're fucking crazy for charging that amount. Anyway, now I post it all the time, and not one time have they ever questioned me. So we think that people are going to judge us, but if they do, like, even if your friends and family do judge you, then that doesn't matter because they're not your clients. They're not going to pay you. It's going to speak to the right kind of person, and pricing will activate different kind of customers as well. Like, I know for me personally, I'm probably not going to sign up to a program that's like under a certain amount. You know, I'm not going to work one-on-one with a coach unless it's like 10. I mean, my coach is like 20K, you know, and that amount feels really expansive for me. And that is the amount that's outside of my comfort zone. And that makes me want to spend that amount of money. Whereas like, I probably wouldn't work with someone that's less than that because it doesn't feel like a expansive move for me that kind of reflects the level that I want to get to. So
100%.
that also requires like that transparency. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I love how much of a good place it still comes from, because I remember you spoke about, I don't know where I heard it, in a webinar or whatnot, and you were basically just saying, you know, how we don't want to bully anyone regarding, you know, and just like that can be such like an old way of doing things, or like it's still so common, but you know, we can do it from a place that it doesn't have to be like bullying, like, you know, don't be fat and like, you know, get into the gym,
Yes.
like, you know, like awful things that like make people really scared of like, oh crap, I have to do this, or like, oh, I'm not working
I've got
hard
to sign up. Yeah.
you know, it's not a good place. Whereas it's just like so genuine, and you can still have such a successful business. Like both can work, and it can feel
Yep.
so much better. And when you're a nice person, you don't want to be
Yes.
pulling someone into your business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, we've got a few more questions here. We'll try and wrap up though. Let me maybe pick like one more question before we let you on your day. Um, what would you say? Okay, this is a good year for the last question.
I'm ready.
What's your tip when it comes to attracting your dream clients? So any tips for, you know, what you've done to attract your dream clients versus other business owners, what they can do to really just get those like soul aligned clients that are just love everything they do, and just really connects with them.
Yes, love this question. Okay, so obviously what, like, even just the pricing element that we just spoke about before to an extent is part of that, right? Because that's speaking to the kind of person that I want to work with. I want to work with someone that values that transparency, that is ambitious, that is ready to take the action. And so me being transparent about my pricing kind of sends a signal to that kind of person. The other piece around attracting your like soul aligned clients that you just love working with, and that's all of my clients, right? Like it's not always been like that in my business. And the reason why that was is because I wasn't being authentic on my content. So I was kind of just attracting people that were a little bit like very different or all over the place. And it's not like I didn't like any of my clients, but I know that there's a certain kind of person that I can really help, and because we vibe well together. And the only way that you're going to attract that person is to be really authentic on your social media and be really unfiltered. So I actually made like a really good post about this yesterday. The post is how one of my mastermind clients doubles their old corporate salary through her online business. And the reason why I reference that is because I put some really good questions in there about what you can do in order to be more authentic and bring in your dream clients. But what I spoke about in there is what are you currently not talking about that you really want to talk about? You know, even with this client that I was talking about in that post, she was talking a lot about like mindset and self-love, but what she really wanted to talk about was trauma healing, right? And like inner child work. And she was like, that's going to sound too hectic. It might scare people off. And I was like, but is that what you're already doing with your clients? She's like, yeah, I am. But like maybe people on social media won't get it. I'm like, so you're already doing it with your clients. It's just a matter of bringing it onto your social media. And yeah, not everyone's going to get it, but the people that do get it are going to really fucking love it. And it's so, and I used to even do this in the start of my business coaching, you know, journey. I used to be like, let's manifest more abundance, because I was too scared to say, let's make more money, you know, because it sounds so abruptive and like intense to be like, who wants to make more money? And so I had to look up even my own kind of like shadows around that of like, oh, okay, why am I dancing around this? And so really look at and like write a list down. And if you're like, I don't know what I want to say, remember that's your people pleasing. You do have ideas. Things are coming to your head all the time. Maybe not when you sit down there, but maybe just have it in the back of your mind. And like those thoughts always come to you, like when you're in the shower or you're driving or whatever. And then when those thoughts come up of like, this is what I really want to talk about, start to bring that in your content and just like push the edges of what feels comfortable for you. And over time, it will start to become more natural for you to be a little bit more opinionated and unfiltered and just, you know, authentic online. And truly, this is the biggest thing. And I see it all the time. Clients come to work with me. I give them a kick up the bum to be like, just share the post and like, what is it that you really want to talk about? And, you know, we get into the specifics as well, because we get into business because we have a passion. We want to help people, not necessarily because we're great at copywriting or marketing. So what I do with my clients as well is refining the words that they're using. So it's really speaking to what it is that their clients want. So a lot of people will focus, for example, in personal training, will focus on like the importance of having a tailored training plan, or like, you know, it's really important to follow your macros and make sure those macros are like good, right for you or whatever. And whilst those things are really important, that's not really why your client wants to sign up with you. Your client wants to sign up with you because they want to get shredded, they want to get strong, they want to have a really good body, they want to compete, whatever it might be, right? So it's like focusing on the outcomes and the benefits and the solutions you can offer rather than the process in your content. But I would say like that's the biggest thing. And also just making it really, really clear how people can work with you. So anyone who spends a minute on my Instagram will know that I'm constantly every single day say, DM me coaching for more information, or DM me, you know, program to work with me in this program, or whatever it might be. And I'm constantly teaching my audience how to interact with me and how to work with me so that there is no question in my mind. And not every single time that I post about an offer does someone sign up, but I really remove that expectation that every single time I post about something, you know, it needs to lead to a new client. I just have this attitude that every time I do post about it, every time I am selling, it's getting someone one step closer to working with me. So I'm not getting like, because otherwise, and I know that a lot of people do this, we set ourselves up and we're like, this is going to sign me up a new client, or this is going to like make me more money. And then it doesn't happen. And we're like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I'm going to fail. And it's like, you're setting these expectations and setting yourself up to fail. Like instead, just, you know, grade it down a little bit and just really think about it as a process. Clients need lots of, or like future clients, your audience need lots of touch points with you before they sign up with you. Like they'll need to talk to you. They'll need to see, you know, the same slide like 10 times before they want to sign up to that program. Repetition is great marketing. So those would be my main kind of couple of tips.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. And as well, for any of those who are interested in working with you, just like I wanted to kind of quickly as well say how, in terms of like if they still might, you know, be confused and like, okay, well, like what can, you know, you do for me, or like what what can she do for me type thing if they were listening to this. So something that I really wanted to do was, and always had a calling to do after building up my own, successful PT business, the point where I have a wait list, I've gone fully online from face to face, have a coach who works underneath me. I've always had a pull and a desire to do like PT mentoring, and just like help others, because I've built up, even I don't have the most like I have a decent following on Instagram, but I'm not like hundreds and thousands. But to have built up, and I remember this PT VA chick, she like did some spreadsheets for me and whatnot, and she like asked me how many clients that I had, and she was like literally shocked. She was like, you have the most clients that I've ever come across, and she was like, I work with some very big names. I was like, oh really? So and I'm just like, how do I package this together? How do I even offer this? Like, I'm still so busy. How do I put this together in a way that I can help more people? Because then it's kind of just a domino effect. I'm not just going to be helping one other PT mentoring client. It's like all of their future clients I'm technically helping away. So that's really like makes me feel good as well. But PT mentoring is like a new service that I'm offering as well, thanks to Inez, because she's really helped me put that in action. And I also had some things where I was like, oh, I don't want to come across as if I'm all about money, because like I'm so passionate about what I do, but it's like, no, like it's not it's not about that. Like that's something that I need to work through. And I'm just like, yeah, so true, because it's end up going to be helping so many more people, not just the one PT that I'll be helping to build up their own PT business, but them as well. So it's just like one of the things that you've been able to help me with, when I'm just like, I didn't even know if this was even an option to try and put together. And then what you've done for me has been really good, and already had so much success with that. Thank you to you.
Yes. I mean, it's one of those things again where like you had the knowledge already. It was just about putting it into a way that your future clients could understand, and knowing how to market it and knowing how to make it make sense versus the other offers that you have in your business. And it just opens up a whole new door. But it's hard to like see that. Like, I know I've been in that position when I'm like, oh, what more could I learn about business? I've already been doing this for so long, and it's so easy for us to convince ourselves that, but like you don't know what you don't know. And there's no way that even for you, Jazz, you probably would have been able to predict that like the results that we've created would have happened. Like it just has happened in such a beautiful way, but not in a way that you could ever have predicted it, And so it's like, okay, thank God I put myself in this container, even though I didn't know exactly how it was going to work out, because now it's worked out better than I could have imagined. And I didn't need to know exactly how it was going to happen in order for it to work out really, really well. So that's another element of it too.
Yeah, 100%. And it was such a like hit in the dark as well. I was like,
yeah,
I like hadn't even looked into it. I was like, I don't even know, but I was like, I just like need to. Like I've had like this strong intuitive pull. I'm like, yep, okay, let's go. And I'm so thankful I did. Honestly, one of the best things I did. I'm so excited to be doing the PT mentoring as well. And all the other things that you helped me with and will help me with as well. So other than that, I think that like we've covered a lot in today's podcast episode. I know so many people are going to absolutely love this, and I'll obviously link your socials down below and link your Instagram. And do you have anything else you want to add, or how others can find you, work with you?
Yeah, just come and hang out with me on Instagram. And like, if you're listening to Jazz and seeing her success, what I would really say is like your willingness to be so ambitious and to just trust your intuition. That's why you're successful. And I really just want to recognize you in that, because I know when we're running our own business, it can feel like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Or like, what am I even doing? We don't have like a boss or a coworker to really give us that recognition, or to give us a promotion, or to tell us, have a rest. You've had a,
I'm like, I haven't spoken to anyone in 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think for anyone that looks at Jazz, she makes it look easy, but oh my God, you are the hardest worker. And I will literally say something. I'll be like, maybe do this. And she'll be like, yep, done. And I'll be like, whoa, I literally said that like a minute ago. Like she's so committed and dedicated. And like, thank God you put your PT mentoring out there, because I know that everyone that's signed up to that is so excited and so happy that you've given them that opportunity. And like, thank God. That's all I have to say. But aside from that, just come and hang out with me on Instagram. And it's been such a pleasure to get to have this chat with you.
Oh, goosebumps. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon. Thanks, guys, for listening.